all that eclectic, it doesn't really matter where you're coming from as long as it's cool kind of vibe was really one of the things that helped us find our identity as we were fighting the Red Hot Chili Pepper Fishbone kind of clone thing, and not wanting to fall into that trap of being so closely associated to your heroes, because we were definitely chasing those kind of sounds when we were first coming out.
It's so interesting at the beginning, that, as you were just saying that too, we had those comparisons to the groups before us and stuff like that, and we didn't deny it. Like, they were obviously huge influences, but that earlier in your career, I feel like you tried to, and this might be a generalization, not you guys specifically, but like I feel like we both maybe tried to get away from those stereotypes of us, of what we were trying to do early on, and in doing so, like, you just like push back, and that's like such a big part of it. And then as you go on later, you're like, well, why was I steering away from that? Like, I know for me, I was like, why was I steering away from that ever? Like, we tried to own it as much as we could, but it's like, okay, just call us that. It doesn't matter. We're going to keep creating the music we're going to. And
yeah,
it's just funny.
You're like, every once in a while, we're going to do a Helmet song, and that's okay. Because Helmet is awesome, and they deserve that kind of recognition. As a 49-year-old now who's been in the game for 30 plus years, it is kind of, I don't know, maybe it's easier to just wear those influences on your shoulder now, and it not having any kind of ramifications. I mean, we were coming up in the, like the no sellout kind of world too, and the don't pay to play and all that kind of thing. So you had to be fiercely individualistic in that kind of aspect, but I think it was kind of overblown, like your experience. So
yeah,
was it a conscious decision when you're younger to do the reggae thing? I mean, obviously you have all these outside influences, but before you guys moved, did the band go through a transformation before you guys started obviously recording and stuff like that? Were you guys more into punk? And what was the first couple songs you guys played together when you guys were growing up?
I mean, there were songs from the previous band. They had a band called Unity, and there was an album that they had made that had, whatever, 8 or 9 songs on it. That was my homework of getting up to speed. Me and Chad, our drummer, were already playing together before Nick was in Europe trying to get something going over there after the first band fell apart. And when he came back, he heard that me and Chad were doing well. So we started integrating his songs into what we were doing. But before Nick came in, God, yeah, what were we doing? I mean, we did a show at the high school of a couple covers. We did Young MC's Bust a Move.
No way, that's rad.
So hip hop was definitely on the table, and Flea's influence on that song was something I wanted to throw into the audience for sure, and I wanted to show off that I could at least attempt that bass line. And I actually took a verse. It's like one of the only times I ever got on the mic was that night too. And and I don't know what else we played. And me and Jimmy did like a Bauhaus song the year before that as freshmen, and we're like the council of elders that was going to allow the talent to get on stage. We're like, no, that's a little too dark. And we're like, oh, come on, what's dark about Totally Gothic? We did,
right?
Yeah. What we did, was it Bela Lugosi's Dead? Or no, we did Stigmata Martyr. So yeah, it's it's E minor half steps all the way down, just endlessly droning, and the lead singer is kind of screaming, and it's just, they're like, no. And then we came back and we did Taste the Pain by the Chili Peppers off of the Say Anything soundtrack. And we did that version because there's a different version of that than on the album. And that went over really well. And like the crowd was nuts. The video's on YouTube, and it's like, that's the first time I ever got on stage. And I was interested in everything because of the MTV influence. And I guess, I mean, we weren't really listening to radio. I've got an older brother, and he was and continues to be all over the map musically. He stays up late listening to radio shows in Lincoln, Nebraska, and is the biggest music nerd I've ever met, and couldn't be more thankful for that influence in my life, because that really did open up my mind to when Nick approached me about playing a Bob Marley song as you know, like a 15-year-old, 16-year-old punk rocker metalhead. And I was like, okay, you know, play it for me. And it was Lively Up Yourself, which has this like triplet part, which is super cool and hard to get your head wrapped around, especially as like a rock guy. So it was, I don't know, it was a revelation. I was up for anything, and I wanted to keep playing in the band. So I wasn't going to really cause any trouble. And yeah, so we were playing reggae really early on, and we were integrating it into the rock. You know, it was like sandwiched with rock songs, and it was okay because Bad Brains was doing it. That was our ticket out of town was, you know, look at these legends that are doing it, and we like this music too. So, you know, here's our version of it.